live. Okay, well, welcome to my second ever live stream on this channel. And I think I accidentally made the mistake of turned off the fan. I probably shouldn't have done that. I think I need to go turn it on. But welcome to the, let's see, it says 3 of you who are in the chat right now. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what your plans are for your next trips, because we're going to be talking about my trips or I guess the trip that I just recently took with my wife. We flew all around the world with credit card points, and I'm just going to be sharing kind of I guess, a trip report, I guess, of what we did, talking about the hotels we stayed in, the airlines we took, all the points we used. Let's see. I don't think mine has updated yet. Let me see if anybody's in here. It just says 3 people right now. Whether people are joining or not, hey, that's all right. We can get started. I know that you guys can watch the replay if you're not here live, and I want to be respectful for those of you that are watching the replay. So kind of get into the content as soon as we can, even if YouTube says there's nobody in here, but which I don't think that's true. We got Labor Gains joining us, excited for another live. Yeah, thanks. Those are my good friends. How's it going? How's it going, Will? Yeah, just excited to be here and sharing. There we go. We got some people coming in, and now updated on my end says that there's a couple people joining. Sometimes it's delayed a little bit, but yeah, if you're watching live, let me know in the comments in the live chat, yeah, where you're watching from, and then we can get started, because I want to talk about the points and miles that I used from my more than month-long trip that I took. And we left our home in Phoenix, and we started out in Canada. It was just a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy in Canada at all. We basically just had a flight there, and then that was connecting us with a longer business class flight that we had over to Ethiopia in Africa. So as far as Canada goes, it was just my point for an overnight layover. It was just a connecting flight, basically. And then, so it was, of course, I'll get into more detail a little bit later on, but we started out in Canada, then we went to Kenya, and then Seychelles, which is a much smaller, lesser known country in the African continent in the Indian Ocean. And then we went from there to the Maldives, and that was an experience for sure, and we'll get into that. I also had a whole live in the Maldives. And then we went over to, I'm already forgetting it, we went over to Malaysia, and then from there, Singapore, and then we ended up going to China, and then Japan, and then we came home. So that's kind of just a brief overview of the trip that we had. Let's see, we got another comment. It says, Labor Gain says, great, it's usually takes a little bit for others to join. Yeah, I mean, especially on a Wednesday night, you never know, people are, I just want to appreciate you guys that are coming in and joining, because I know that you guys probably have family stuff to do, or you're just busy, or you're working today. And so I appreciate all of you who are jumping in live and joining. It really means a lot to me. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, so that was just kind of a brief overview of the 7 countries that I visited with my wife, just going all around the world. So, I mean, we can definitely get into talking about the points and miles used, because I did use cash in some cases. I mean, it kind of makes sense for me to do it sometimes, because there's some knocking going on. I think I'm in an apartment, so I think somebody's hammering something into the wall on the other side, but whatever. So, okay, so I didn't use points and miles for every single hotel, didn't use it for every single flight, because sometimes it just didn't make sense. Sometimes the price wasn't good enough, or or because we're actually using a lot of these as business expenses, because my wife and I have another YouTube channel other than this one, and so sometimes it makes sense to pay cash because it's necessary for us to pay for some of these things, and or it's necessary for us to be traveling and making YouTube videos for our business, and so it sometimes makes sense to pay in cash. Hey, I'm seeing a couple new people jumping in. This is really exciting. Thank you guys so much for being here. I guess we haven't said anybody's said the audio is bad, so I think we're doing all right. But if the audio is good, I guess just let me know. I'm using a different microphone than I usually do for my videos, just trying to test some things out. I think this is better for the live. And so some of my flights and hotels are with points. Some of them are with cash, with dollars, and it all worked out to be a really fun trip. So let's see. We got Labor Gain saying audio sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I mean, this trip, I have all these like notes down here. So if you see me looking, that's what I'm doing. The trip got started off pretty crazy. So we booked our flight to Africa from Toronto, Canada. This was 5 months before the trip even started, and so it turned out to be a very interesting one because we're like, okay, we found a really good deal on Air Canada Aeroplan. This was using Chase points, so there was a 20% transfer bonus from Chase. And and so we found a really good one. We wanted to go to Kenya, so we found a really good flight from Toronto to Ethiopia in business class, 13-hour flight, and then that also connected us to Kenya on the same ticket. So we're like, okay, well, we've never been to Toronto. That might be difficult to get to, but we're just gonna try it anyway. That sounds good. And we had to book our flight because we wanted to book our accommodation at the same time. And so we needed to have a flight to know when to get in because we were going on safari in Africa. And so we ended up booking, my wife and I, so we have 2 tickets, and they were each 75,000 Aeroplan points from Air Canada. And with the transfer bonus we got from Chase, I think it ended up being 60,000 Chase points per ticket for business class, 13-hour flight, and then an additional 2-hour flight. This was perfect for us, and so we decided to jump on that, book that, but that meant we had to get to Toronto, and so we were looking at using points, trying to figure out any way to use that, but we found this airline that was a nonstop direct flight from our home airport, Phoenix, to Toronto for the exact day we needed, and it was like $60 a person. It was like 120 total, and we're like, this is the best deal that we've ever seen. This is, I mean, how can you beat that? It's like a 4-hour flight all across the country to another country, and that one was like $60 per person. So I'm like, that's totally perfect. So let's do that. So we didn't actually book that flight because we were still dealing with all the other details of the trip, like the more important ones, but we're like, okay, we know that flight's gonna be there. We know that flight, it's like $60. It's not really gonna go up from there because it's like $60 per ticket from Phoenix to Toronto, like so many days. It's on an airline called Lynx Air, budget airline, but whatever, we can handle that. And before we actually got around to booking that flight, we found out that airline actually went bankrupt like a couple weeks after we found that really good flight deal. Or they went bankrupt, they went out of business, whatever it was. And so we were kind of stranded without a flight to Toronto. And the only alternative was Air Canada for a nonstop flight. And that one was going to cost us like 5 times the amount that this budget airline was going to. So we were trying to figure out how to get to Toronto, couldn't figure it out. We had a business class flight booked from Toronto over to Kenya, but we couldn't figure out how to get to Toronto. And before I finish that, we have a couple comments rolling in. Tim Watts says, were there any issues with any one credit card issuer on your trips? Which card do you feel gave you the best, easiest, most rewarding experience? Those are two really good questions. Were there any issues with any one card issuer on your trips? I would say no issues, right? Definitely found out in the 7 countries that I went to on this trip, the American Express wasn't always accepted. I mean, like, that's something that you guys need to know. If you have American Express cards, well, I mean, they're going to be less accepted than Visa or MasterCard. That issue became, it wasn't really an issue because, okay, I have other Visa or MasterCard cards, but definitely in China, I would say, like, nobody accepted American Express there, which was a little bit surprising because China's actually pretty technologically advanced, and so that was interesting to see. But no American Express there, so we just used Visa and MasterCard. And then for which card do you feel gave you the best, easiest, most rewarding experience? I mean, honestly, the card that I was working on a welcome bonus for. So I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't necessarily use my cards for like the experience that it gives you. Of course, I have the AMEX Platinum card that gets me into Centurion lounges. That's really nice. But when we're traveling internationally, well, it still gives you Priority Pass. And so I really like having that card for that. And then my wife has a Venture X card, could also get us Priority Pass. And then we also we went to Capital One Lounge at the very end of the trip in Denver. So that was nice. I mean, those 2 cards are solid, but I was just spending all money on the welcome bonus cards so that I could get. We were working on a Ink Preferred welcome bonus, finishing that one up. Got 100,000 chase points for that. And then Call Me Alani says, welcome back. Thank you. And so does Monty the Card Nerd. I just saw that you posted a video, Monty, about the Aeroplan card. I don't know if we're going to get into that today, but in this live, but I've been eyeing that card for a while, and I think I want to get that one pretty soon. Jacob and Jenny Travel, our other YouTube account. That's the one where we got to make YouTube vlogs all around the world, just about our experiences. So that's my wife. Hi from the other room. And then we have Cesar joining us. Hey, Jacob. Happy to see you live. Good evening, everyone. So yeah, thanks for joining live. This is may not be as exciting as my other live stream where I was in the Maldives and I was filming or going live from the overwater villa, but I mean, we're home now, and so I get to share all about the experiences from the Maldives and everywhere else too. So I appreciate you guys joining live and for jumping in on this Wednesday night. I know people are busy sometimes during the week, but I appreciate you guys for joining. So with that said, I don't think I finished my story on how I actually got to Toronto to start off this whole trip. So the only nonstop flights were on Air Canada to Toronto, because the airline that I was trying to book, this like really budget airline, like $60 a seat to go nonstop from Phoenix to Toronto, they went bankrupt and they didn't sell any other tickets. So I'm thankful that I didn't book my ticket before they went bankrupt, because I mean that would have been really bad, because I heard that some people were having a struggle getting their money back from Lynx Air. So anyway, so I was like, oh, I guess we're gonna have to either book the Air Canada nonstop flight or do a United flight with one stop. Those were our best options at that point to get to Toronto. And then prices shot up, and they were like $700 a ticket for the nonstop flight. So we didn't book that until like a few days before we left, and then found out that one of the prices like significantly dropped on the nonstop flight the day before we were supposed to be in Toronto. It was like $700 a ticket to $300 a ticket, but the points price didn't drop, and the points price never really looked that good to get to Toronto. So we just ended up booking that reduced fare. There was like 2 seats left for $300 a ticket instead of $700. So we went with that, but we went through the Chase travel portal, and I have a Sapphire preferred, so I get 1.25 cents per point in the portal, and then ended up being 48,000 Chase points for 2 tickets to get to Toronto. So definitely not the best situation ever. I would have loved to use fewer points to get there, or for that budget airline to get to Toronto, but Either way, I think it worked out fine. I mean, 48,000 chase points, that's a lot, but had to get there somehow because I booked my business class flight to Africa like 5 months before this. So I did what I have to do. Call Me Lonnie says, random tech question. What service do you use for cell service when traveling, eSIM, or change from country to country? So for our service, it's actually really interesting. We're on some T-Mobile plan. I don't know the name of it, but it gives us international data, like pretty much in every country we go to, except for I think like one or two that we found out doesn't have data. So yeah, it's T-Mobile. Don't know the plan name just off the top of my head, but it's actually extremely nice because my wife and I are on the same plan, and so we just fly into a new country, turn off airplane mode, and we're like, hey, we have service here, and then we just carry on as usual. It's pretty slow, but it still gets the job done for the most part. But then as far as eSIMs go, yeah, we do use Airlo. It's an eSIM app you can get on your phone, and you can just install an eSIM on your phone, and you can get data. You just pay for a package and go. We don't use any sort of like physical SIM cards that seem like too much of a hassle. The eSIM works out well. I mean, I have a referral code if you want to use it. You get like $3 off. I'll have to drop that if you ask for it, but I mean, I don't know. It's just something that we use. Airlo seems really like solid. It's the first one we really tried out, and it worked well. So we just decided to keep using it, even though we haven't used it that much because for some reason our T-Mobile plan gives us the international data. Okay, so yeah, I mean, thank you guys for joining. I keep saying this, but I really appreciate it. I mean, you guys are busy, so thanks for taking the time out to join. And this is my second live stream ever, so I don't have any of the crazy, like really good graphics and like showing everything. I just kind of testing it out, see if live streaming is for me on this channel. And yeah, we'll just see if people like the live streams. If you guys are enjoying it, then maybe I'll stream from my computer or my camera, and then we'll figure it out with all like the really good graphics. But basically, I'm going through my trip, going through from start to finish with the points and miles I used for this trip. And on the thumbnail, you can see all the places that we went, like 7 different countries. And well, I guess the 7th one was Canada, but that was just an overnight layover, so I don't know if it really counts, but I mean, oh well. So 48,000 chase points used through the Chase travel portal, using my Sapphire preferred to get 1.25 cents per point in the portal. And that's how we got to Toronto before our business class flight. I'm gonna have to turn on this fan. I accidentally turned it off like 2 seconds before I started the live, so 1 second. That feels much better. That was a huge mistake. I was like, oh, I'm gonna like lower it by 1 and then accidentally turn the whole thing off. Okay, so next up we had this flight. If you guys have any questions too about how I booked this or anything, like I'm gonna have a ton of videos on all of this stuff. Like I'm just gonna keep posting all like how I got everywhere around the world. But if you guys have any questions right now, I mean, you feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll answer them. Okay, so earlier before I started that whole story on how I got to Toronto, I did talk about how I used 150,000 chase points for 2 business class flights on a 13-hour flight from Toronto over to Ethiopia, lay over there for a few hours, and then on to Nairobi, Kenya. And that one, yeah, it was just through Air Canada. There was a 20% transfer bonus over from Chase, and so that worked out really, really well. It was our first time in Africa, and we just didn't really know what to expect. We've been so many different countries all around the world, but never been to Africa. So we're like, okay, well, let's just see what this is all about. And first impressions of Africa, I guess, or of Ethiopia. We got there in the airport, and everything was pretty nice. It was really like convenient. The airport looked nice. Like everything was functioning really well. And so, yeah, we had a great time. We went to the business class lounge in Ethiopia. We were on Ethiopian Airlines for both flights. And so we got to go to the business class exclusive lounge. It's different than their priority pass lounges that they have in the Addis Ababa airport. That's the capital city of Ethiopia. And so that was actually a really good experience. The business class lounge was huge, everything like that. And then we got on our flight in just a couple hours to Kenya. And then there were lie flat seats in this 2 hour flight from Ethiopia to Nairobi, Kenya. So we were pretty pumped about that. That was pretty sweet, even though, I mean, we were totally jet lagged, really confused what time it was. It was only a 2 hour flight, and they served us a meal. So that we were all like, okay, how do we eat? How do we sleep? What's going on here? It's only 2 hours. It was more like an hour and 30 minutes by the time that we actually got into the air and got actually to recline our seat. And so it was a lot going on. I would have liked a longer flight than 2 hours for lie flat, but I mean, I'll definitely take it. It was already this. It was the same price whether we did this flight in business class or not, so it worked out well. And then let's see, David William chiming in. Good deal. That flight would be so expensive. Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna have to go back and look at my notes on the cash price for that flight. I mean, it was 13 hours. You can only imagine like how expensive that would be. But it was pretty sweet. Labor gains coming in. Everyone leave Jacob a like. Yeah, actually, yeah, thank you for actually doing that. I just saw that the like counter actually went up by a couple. So yeah, I appreciate it. So Africa was pretty sweet. I mean, we only went to Kenya, but we went on a safari. It was 5 nights, so we kind of got like 6 days out of it, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was great. We didn't spend any time in the capital city of Nairobi, except for we did stay at a Hilton on the front end and the back end. It was just a Hilton Garden Inn at the Nairobi airport. I mean, it was what we could do with our travel schedule. I would have liked to actually spend some time in Nairobi. It would have been really fun. Actually looking back on it and being like, oh, that actually would have been cool because the city looked nice, and it seemed very affordable to get Ubers and stuff around the city. And so with all of that, I'm like, okay, maybe if we go back to Kenya, we could spend some time in Nairobi. Looked like there might have been some good food to eat out there. Might have been, yeah, the Ubers were affordable. So, and the hotels actually weren't that affordable, but probably would, if we didn't go with a chain hotel, maybe with something like through a travel portal or something to use our credit card points. That might be nice. But we spent pretty much all of our time in the Masai Mara, which is in the southern part of Kenya, bordering Tanzania. And we just spent time like taking so many good pictures, so many good videos of all these animals being 5 feet away from them, lions staring at us right in the face. And we were just, I guess, we were in a Jeep, so we were protected. I guess they just don't like attacking the cars. So it worked out well. That was fun. And the safari, feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity that I might have to live more than once because of how cool it was. And my wife would definitely agree with that one. And let's see here. We got hi Jacob. I'm heading over to Manila next week, Manila, Philippines. Any pointers would be great. We'll be staying at both Hyatts, Grand and Regency. So yeah, I actually was in Manila not too long ago. So this was it in April that I was there? It was something. So just a couple months ago. I mean, we stayed at the Conrad there in Manila for 5 nights. We used our points. It was 50,000 points per night. And then we got the 5th night free, so 200,000 total. I still haven't made a video about this. I really should, because this was actually a cool experience. It was the first time using like a ton of Hilton points, not just like the occasional like 1 or 2 night stay. And so it would be good to make a video about that. But the Grand Hyatt and Hyatt Regency, I remember the Grand Hyatt. I remember that. I think it was like category 3, if I'm remembering correctly. If you want to like follow up with that, or maybe the Regency was category 3. But those seem like good properties. For as far as any pointers go in Manila, if you're going just there, I can't be sure about like every single city, I guess, in the Philippines because I only went to 2 of them. But definitely Manila. If you want transportation, just take Grab everywhere. It's their ride-sharing app, just like similar to Uber. I don't think Uber's there. Yeah, just Grab. And Manila is a fun place. I mean, we went around. We went to, I mean, our first day we just kind of tried to go around to some of the historical sites, taking Grab everywhere. It's really hot there most of the time, and also a little bit humid. So just try to, I mean, get Grab, use the ride share, get air conditioning that way, go inside. And we went to there, go to the malls there. Like malls are huge in Manila, in the Philippines. Just experience that. We went to the Mall of Asia, which is like one of the more popular ones, and just have a good time. If you're going outside of Manila, maybe go to a place with a beach and just hang out. But you're going next week, so you probably have all your plans all put together. Okay, so after the safari, so now we are now from Phoenix to Toronto with the Chase Travel Portal, and then from Toronto over to Kenya on Ethiopian Airlines business class, and then we did the safari. We did not pay points for the safari, but it was like kind of a luxury experience, and we got 5 nights there. It was actually one of the cheaper things that we could possibly do there, because there's not too many places you can use credit card points when you're on safari, but that's okay with us. We paid dollars. We hit a welcome offer with that pretty much, because of how pricey it actually is to go on safari. And then we left after 5 days, and then we went back to the Hilton Garden Inn in Nairobi, Kenya, where we just paid dollars for that. It was pretty easy for us to. So what we have with Hilton, my brother actually works for Hilton, just in one of the hotels here in Phoenix, and so we actually got added on to his friends and family discount, and so now there are some times in some hotels where we can get like half price rooms, and so we're like, okay, we could use our Hilton points for this room, but we're getting half price here, so why don't we just pay dollars for that? And it's not like that with every hotel every Hilton that we try to go to, but just if the hotel is expecting less than 90% occupancy, then they'll open up the friends and family rate, and then we can get a hotel room for basically half the price, which is extremely nice, because Hilton, when you're paying cash, like sometimes that's just too expensive, and so yeah. Okay, so from there, from Nairobi, Kenya, we made our way over to Seychelles, which is an island country in the Indian Ocean, but still part of the continent of Africa. And so it's made up of a bunch of different islands. There's like 3 main islands, and we visited all of them. And we're like, okay, there were 2 options for flights that way. There was one from the capital city of Kenya, a direct flight on Kenya Airways over to Seychelles, the capital city of Seychelles. And this one we could have used our Flying Blue miles for this. You can book Kenya Airways flights with Flying Blue, because I believe the currency that you earn on Kenya Airways is Flying Blue miles. It's the program that is mainly known for Air France and KLM, but they have other ones too, like Kenya Airways and a couple other smaller airlines too. And so we could have done that, but the flight was leaving Nairobi, Kenya at 10 p.m., getting in at 2 a.m., and it would have been like kind of the wrong date. So we decided to not go for that option. And so we ended up going with a layover. We went on Ethiopian Airlines again, and we went from Nairobi, Kenya, back through Ethiopia, and then on to Seychelles from there. And so we booked those economy because the flights were only like 2 or 3 hours each. We booked that economy for 19,000 United miles per ticket. And so right now I was checking on United not too long ago, and those same tickets were going for like 17,000 miles, 17.5, I think. And so I feel like that was a pretty good deal. And I was like, oh, I just love using the Star Alliance, because they have the most partners out of any alliance, like One World and SkyTeam. And so I like checking out the Star Alliance first, because I mean they have United, which I guess is now kind of my favorite domestic airline. It's kind of by default because they are in the Star Alliance, and United's pretty good too. And I have the United Business credit card now, and so I just look at United website because I mean United miles. I guess why they became my favorite is one, yes, Star Alliance, but also it's because United miles are easy to earn with Chase points. You just transfer them over to United, and also so that makes it way better than American. Not saying American's worse, but it's harder to get points to their program. And then Delta, usually the rates there just don't really make sense, and Sky Miles aren't really as valuable, in my opinion, and probably most people's opinion, than United Miles. And so United kind of became my favorite domestic airline, and you can book a lot of different airlines with United Miles. And so we got Ethiopian Airlines Economy from Kenya over to Seychelles with a layover in Ethiopia for 19,000 miles each, which we thought were pretty good. We got those miles from our United Business credit card welcome offer, and that was just, we used 38,000 total for that. So not even, I mean, we got 100,000 United miles for a welcome offer, so it was just barely more than a third of the miles that I earned for that one flight to go internationally to a completely different destination. So that was pretty sweet. And then there we stayed at 3 different hotels because we were kind of bouncing around a lot in Seychelles, trying to see as much as we could. The first one that we stayed in was it was on the main island. It was the DoubleTree Alamanda. It was kind of expensive. We got that friends and family rate that I talked about a little bit earlier. We got that for, it was $350 for 2 nights. So still expensive, but this place was going for like 70,000 Hilton points a night. It was a really nice property. It was great. I mean, we had a great time there, but it was only 2 nights. And so we kind of wish we had more time, but because it was so expensive, we kind of had to keep moving. And then we went over to one of the other islands in Seychelles. We just used like booking.com for that hotel because there really wasn't anything good. There wasn't any like chain hotels over there. And then the travel portal for hotels, there wasn't anything good over there. And so we went over there, and then we came back because we wanted to use our Hilton free night reward that we got from a welcome offer by signing up for the Hilton business card. That was a while back. And that we got 150,000 Hilton points plus 1 free night reward, and we decided to use it on this place in Seychelles because it was going for, I have 95,000 points per night for this one hotel. It was called Hilton Northolm, so it was, I guess because it was in the north of the main island in Seychelles, and 95,000 points. We only stayed one night because we're like, we can't use our Hilton points. We actually didn't even have 95,000 in our account, so we couldn't even stay a second night if we wanted to. This one, it was such a really cool property. Yeah, I wish I had all the cool graphics and all that, so I could like show you what this property was like. But I mean, it was pretty sweet. I'll be making videos about a lot of this stuff in the coming weeks and maybe even months as I get all these videos filmed and out. But this was a pretty cool experience to use our first ever Hilton free night reward for a place like this. Like, I think it was the best hotel that I've ever stayed in. I would have to guess. I'm trying to remember all the places, but this one was pretty special. I think it was going for like $600 a night. I'm just going off memory, but that was I have in my notes that it was the most luxurious stay ever, which is probably true. And then we had to get over to the Maldives from there because I had booked some IHG properties. Well, just one, but I booked an IHG property in the Maldives about 7-8 months prior to this, to going on this trip, because I found a really good deal on IHG. And of course, we'll talk about that. And I kind of talked about it a little bit in the last live stream that I did, but basically I had this IHG hotel booked, and then we planned in the Maldives, and I planned the whole kind of trip around going to this IHG property. And so we had to get to the Maldives from Seychelles. which is very difficult to do because it's just two island nations. They're actually kind of close together, about a 3 hour, 4 hour flight, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's hard to get to. There is nonstop flights, but you can't use points for that. And so I decided to figure out a different way. And actually, I didn't even know about those nonstop flights because they're not on Google Flights or anything like that. It's just a really small airline. I think it's like Air Seychelles. I think that's the name of it. So I didn't even know about that until a few days before the flight. But I already had booked flights on Qatar Airways with my Avios that I believe I transferred over from American Express. So each ticket, we did do economy, even though we were doing Qatar Airways. Yes, there was Q suites available, but I just I didn't do that. Let's see. I'm gonna look at my notes really quickly. Okay, all right, we're still good. Okay, yeah. So for this Qatar Airways flight, it was 30,000 Qatar Avios plus $150 in taxes and fees. I don't like when the fees are so high. Like I really love when it's just $5.60 for whatever kind of flight you're on. But sometimes the international flights, the fees and taxes are a little bit high. But I mean, that's okay. I did fly economy, did not fly Q suites because it was just a 4 hour flight to Qatar and then a 4 hour flight to the Maldives. So I'm like, I don't think I need Q suites for that because it wouldn't have been double the points. It would have been 4 times the amount of points. And so that did not seem worth it to me for those short flights. But we did sit one row behind Q suites and I was looking at it before we took off and I'm like, that would have been nice. But oh well, we got to Qatar for the layover, and everyone talks up how good Qatar is. And the flight was fine. The flight was good. But once we got to the airport, I mean, it was like 2 a.m. It was just crazy. There were so many people at the airport because that's the time when all the layovers happen in Qatar and a lot of places in the Middle East, I think. And then it was just wasn't really a good experience. I was really looking forward to it. I was like, everybody like talks about how good Qatar is. And I don't know, the country might be fine, but everybody talks about how good like Qatar Airways is, and it just it didn't live up to that expectation because the lounge was completely full. There was like one priority pass lounge, and it was 100% occupancy, but we got in like right before they closed down, before they stopped letting people in, and we didn't even get a seat at a table. There was no chairs, no tables for us. We just sat on the ground. And then this is funny because we were sitting on the ground waiting for a table to open up for somebody to leave on their flight, and then some person in the lounge came over and told us that we couldn't sit on the ground. But we're like, we're so tired. It's 2 a.m. I just want to go to sleep, but I'm here on a layover. And yeah, I guess it would have been better if we were in a business class lounge at that point. But like whatever. It was fine because eventually we got a table and we got some food, and then we made our way over to the Maldives. Yeah, but that was a really weird experience. I guess maybe for flying business class, like it would be pretty sweet. But I guess, I mean, we just did economy, so it wasn't as good as I guess it could have been. Yeah, at any point, if you guys have any questions about any of these, I know that these style of live streams or videos, it may not be like what everybody is looking for. But I mean, I travel a lot, so I feel like I need to share all of my travel experiences because I mean, yeah, you can earn a ton of credit card points and you can do really well with hitting welcome offers and stuff, but then there's also a whole nother side of it of doing these like really cool flights or hotels and these redemptions, that there's a whole nother side than just learning how to like sign up for credit cards and hit welcome bonuses. Let's see. Monty says the Priority Pass lounge in Qatar was also full when I went, but they opened up another lounge for Priority Pass holders. That one was nice. Well, that's sweet that they opened up an entirely other lounge. For me, I don't know if it was the exact same for you, but when we got to the Priority Pass lounge, there was 2 sides of the lounge. You could either go to the left or you could go to the right when you walked in. And so I don't know if it was... yeah, like I guess, was it close to the other Priority Pass lounge or was it a completely separate one? Because I would have loved to go to the separate one if that was the case. But yeah, both sides were 100% full and we couldn't find a table and it was crazy. The only spot we could get was sitting on the ground right next to the smokers lounge. And my wife and I, we don't, I mean, whatever, if you're going to smoke, then do your thing, but we don't necessarily love the smell of it. So it wasn't the best experience for us. And then Adventures of Wade and Peyton says, United Explorer with 70K offer worth it? Yes, I would say it's worth it. I'm trying to think what the minimum spend is, like $3,000 on that in 3 months, if I'm remembering correctly. And so the United Explorer card, I mean, I love United Miles. The more that I look into United Miles, the more that I love them, because I got United Business card with a 100,000 point welcome offer, and we used up all of them on this trip. That was I wasn't expecting to, but that's what happened, and we don't have any more, and I want to try to get more. So I think I'm going to have my wife sign up for the United Business card. That would be probably my first recommendation if you're trying to get United Miles. But the United Explorer, that must be a targeted offer in your account, because I think my referral link has a 60,000 point offer, and then if you get somewhere, if you get the flight attendant's like referral code or something like that, like on a plane, then you can get up to 65,000, I think. But the United Explorer having a 70K offer, I mean, I would say, yeah, as long as you can handle that with the 524, with Chase 524, if you don't mind using up a slot for that card, then sure, I mean, why not? But my first recommendation would be United Business card if you can qualify for that. And you just said, yes, it's targeted. So, I mean, yeah, if you can handle the Chase 524 hit, adding to your slot, it being on your record books for the next 2 years, and you can, I mean, if you can use the United Miles, if you don't fly on United, then maybe not, but yeah, just to determine, like, is it worth it for you? It's hard to say because I don't know your situation exactly, but I mean, the United Explorer card is probably the best personal, just United card, just in general, without knowing your situation. The United Explorer card is probably the best one out of the four, but I would always go business card first if you can, if you even have self-employment income. And then Monty, for the Priority Pass lounge in Qatar, you said the other lounge was really far. I sprinted just to make sure I wouldn't be full. It wouldn't be full. Okay, well, yeah, I would have really liked to go to the other Priority Pass lounge that they opened up for you, because this one was not. I mean, the food was fine, but it was like prepackaged and wasn't the best, and all the people were, I mean, the people were using up all the tables and whatnot. So I don't know. Either way, like, I'm glad it worked out for you. Did not for me. I'll give it another shot. At some point, I'll be in Qatar, and I'll try it out, and maybe they'll open up another lounge. but it was they weren't accepting any more people, and there were like at least 50 people waiting to get in. So that was a mess. But I guess maybe I'll just fly business class next time, and I won't have to worry about that. Okay, so where we left off, I was talking about how we were going to the Maldives from the Seychelles. So yes, we used 30,000 Qatar Avios plus $150 in taxes and fees per person, get over to the Maldives, which I felt like was pretty good, because the Maldives is hard to get to if you've never tried to look up flights. And we first got there, we stayed at a local island, which was not any of the resorts. It wasn't the Hiltons or the IHGs or anything like that. And this was, it was a special experience, because we got to see all of, I mean, when you go to a resort in the Maldives, you're going to just like have this luxurious experience, and yeah, you're going to have some local people working there and whatnot, but you're just going to be lounging around in your overwater villa or whatever you decide to book, and you're going to the pool, and you're going to have a great time, most likely. But when you go to a local island in the Maldives, you're going to have this completely different experience. Hotels are going to be so affordable. I mean, we're talking like $50 a night affordable. When you think of the Maldives, you don't think of $50 a night hotels, but that's what it is, because there's a ton of Maldivian people living on those islands, and they also happen to have some hotels for people to stay at. But because they are I believe it's mandated that you must be Muslim in the Maldives. So for these local islands, they don't have They don't have alcohol there. You can't just be in a normal like swimsuit, what you think of if you're just going to the beach in California or something. You can't be like guys. You have to wear like shirt. Girls can't wear bikini and things like that. And so it's just a completely different experience than a luxury resort in the Maldives. So that was pretty fun to get a $50 a night hotel room there. And then also just getting to do some of the activities that we were going to do in the Maldives, like diving and snorkeling. We got that. It was like less than half the price that it would have been at the resort. So we did that before we went over to the Holiday Inn resort that we went to. That one was 96,000 IHG points for 4 nights. I got the 4th night free because we do have the IHG Premier credit card. Well, I guess we have 3 now. I made a video about that, how I have the personal IHG Premier card, business IHG Premier card, and my wife now has a business IHG card because we just love the anniversary free nights that come on those. And so we're just so happy that we were able to go to the Holiday Inn Resort because for the last 2 nights we did upgrade our stay. We paid in dollars because that was the only way to guarantee an overwater villa upgrade. And so we spent, what is that? It was $580 for 2 nights. And so it was worth it for us because that was like, when else are we going to do an overwater villa in the Maldives? Probably, well, I guess I would say never, but thinking how easy it was to use credit card points for that. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can go again. Yeah, so 4th night free with points, and that gave us the most basic room. But they upgraded our stay because we were Platinum Elite members. That comes with the same credit card I've been mentioning. And then that was, that gave us like, I think it was 3 upgrades. I think there was like 6 total like different rooms you could have in the Holiday Inn Resort, but I think we got the 4th highest room there. I think it was the last one before Overwater Villa, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was a pretty sweet upgrade, and the lowest room there was like, oh, I don't know if I would have. We like checked it out. We walked over there and checked it out. We're like, oh, we probably wouldn't have wanted to stay there. I'm really glad they upgraded us, and yeah, we have Platinum Elite status. They just did it. I feel like I'm drinking so much water. It's so dry here in Arizona. It's like, I checked the weather. I didn't even go outside today. I was just working in here from the apartment, and it was it's like 115 today, something like that. So ridiculous out there. I'm like, I don't know. I'll go out when the sun sets. Got about like an hour or 2 before the sun sets, and then I'll go outside and walk around and stuff. Okay, so from there, we booked a lot of this stuff last minute because, I mean, we've been I had to fix the mic. I'm sorry about that if you heard that. So we've been traveling enough for the past couple of years. We've been traveling as much as we possibly can, and so just like, I mean, months out of the year, we're just traveling, and so I guess, I don't know if you can consider us experts. I think we're experts. And so we've been just finding out all of the different flight deals, different hotel deals, and sometimes the flight deals are the last minute ones. And so we had flights we didn't have flights from the Maldives, but we wanted to go to Abu Dhabi. And so we were kind of waiting around for a last minute deal from the United Arab Emirates over to the United States, because we were like, okay, we're going to end our trip there probably. We're going to end in the UAE, fly home business class. It's going to be great. But we saw some flights for like 2 days before we wanted to end our trip. And I'm like, probably won't work. Let's wait around. This was like a month before we were actually going to get there on this trip. And we're like, okay, let's just wait around. Yeah, that flight was a really good one, but we don't want to only spend 2 days in UAE. I want to spend like 4 or 5. And so we didn't book that one home, and then there was never another business class flight that we could take home from there. So we actually ended up completely changing all of our plans, scrapping the Middle East. We were like, all right, let's just go to Asia. We were already kind of close with the Maldives to other countries we wanted to go to. So we ended up going to Malaysia right after the Maldives. And it actually wasn't that expensive of a flight, maybe like $350 for two people. And we just paid cash for that because it was kind of like a budget-ish airline. And there was no points that we could use unless, yeah, they weren't even in the Chase travel portal, so we couldn't use points for that. Let's see. We got David William, 112 degrees in Barstow. I hate the desert. Oh man, yeah. Well, the desert's fine sometimes. It's fine at night. It cools off at night a lot of the time. Maybe not in the summer, but in the spring and the fall it does. And then honestly, I might take it. Might take the 115 degrees it is here over any sort of humidity you get from around the country. I mean, the Midwest is kind of bad. The South is bad with humidity in the summer. So I don't know. Maybe this is fine. I'll take it. I've accepted that. You know, if I live in Arizona the rest of my life, if I live in the desert, it's fine because we don't get the humidity. Oh well. And so, but these next places that we did go to had a ton of humidity, and that's probably why I'm okay with having no humidity here. So we went to Malaysia, and Malaysia's really affordable. This is really fun that I figured out. I actually really want to go to Malaysia again because of how affordable it is. With whether you're paying dollars or whether you're paying points, Malaysia's great. Oh, there we go. I just saw it pop up on the screen. Xavier with the $10 super chat. Let's go. Late to the party, but I'm here. Thanks, Xavier. I really appreciate it. I was wondering if you were going to join in here. That's so cool. That's so awesome. I'll have to give you a heart there. I'll give you a little like. That is so fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. That really energizes me to keep going to finish up this I guess not finish up because we're only like halfway through at this point with some of these, with the trip I'm talking about, because there's a lot more to go just looking at my notes here. So thanks so much for dropping that, Xavier. So back to Malaysia. We've been I've just been wanting to go to Malaysia for a while because I heard it's pretty affordable, and that's kind of the way I am. I'm not really a budget traveler. I'd say I'm a value traveler. I don't know if I'm stealing that phrase from somebody else, but I'm a value traveler. I like finding those category 1 or 2 Hyatts in a good area, and then I like finding the affordable hotels and flights that I can use with points. And some part of me needs to be like that because of how much I travel with my wife, and we go around. Like Xavier's saying. Your travel videos with you and Jenny are great. Yeah, it's because we have a whole nother YouTube channel and we travel so much, and we gotta go places. We gotta go on flights, and we gotta do hotels so that we can film it and make YouTube videos on our other channel. And so I'm like, okay, we need to kind of save our points a little bit because of how much traveling we do. And so I think that's why I love Malaysia so much, because we didn't actually use points for this day because we got another friends and family rate. Maybe this is why we're getting so many friends and family rates, because nobody really wants to go to some of these really hot places in the middle of the summer. But I guess we do, so it worked out. So we got a friends and family rate for a really nice Hilton in the capital city of Malaysia. Technically, it's next to the capital city. It was $99 total for 2 nights. So under $50 a night for a really, really nice Hyatt, or not Hyatt, really nice Hilton. And with our gold status, we got free breakfast, not free breakfast, complimentary breakfast. I hate using the word free when talking about credit card points and miles. It's not free, it was complimentary because we already got the status. And then, what's up? What's up, Darius? Thanks for joining. And so under $50 a night, yes, we do have a friends and family discount. But if you were to not have that discount, it still would have been like $100 a night for this really nice Hilton in Malaysia. And then with our gold status, we got complimentary breakfast, and with we got I think an upgrade to the next category, which ended up being the executive lounge access. And so we got to have, I think it was complimentary dinner and breakfast. And so like we were just, we didn't need to go out for any meals, but all the meals in Malaysia, we just ate like food on the street and it was so affordable. It was great. We love Malaysia. Long story short, probably going to go back there and use a lot of credit card points and just have a really fun stay. Hey, Xavier, I might be able actually, I can't promise this at all, but he said I need a Hilton insider. I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of have to be friends or family, so you have to kind of know the person. So I might not be able to hook you up with with a friends and family discount, but somebody should. If anybody works for Hilton, hey, maybe you need to make friends with people and add them on as a friends and family discount. And then David Williams says the desert over the swamp for sure. Yeah, I'll take the really hot temperatures and so that I don't have to have the really high humidity. But our humidity trip was not over because we had to get to Singapore because, I mean, why not go to Singapore when they're in the country over in Malaysia? Because Singapore is really cool. A lot of you guys should go to Singapore because there are some really good business class flights over there from the United States. I mean, yes, it is a really far journey, but if you have the time off work or you just try to figure out Singapore because Singapore is really cool. It's really nice. It's like the nicest country in Asia. I mean, they got money. They built up their city really well. It's really clean. It's so safe there. There's a lot of stuff to like about Singapore. And I was able to find a flight so on the day that we flew from Malaysia to Singapore, there were 40 flights going from Malaysia, the capital city of Malaysia, to Singapore. So 40 flights a day. I was trying to find the best one. I was like, can I get a really good cheap deal? Those were only like near midnight, so I didn't want to do those, but found a good one it was 5,000 flying blue miles plus $24 of taxes and fees to go from the capital city of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, to Singapore. 5,000 flying blue miles that I just transferred over from my AMEX account. I'm like, oh, and this would have been even better if there was a transfer bonus, but I mean, you can't really, it's hard to beat a 5,000 mile flight. So this was so obviously my wife is with me, so that's 10,000 miles plus $48, which was almost not worth it because the flights were so affordable. But like I was still getting like 1.7 cents per point for that one. So I was like, yeah, I'll just use my miles. Why not? It's so fun. When else can you pay just 5,000 miles and then you go on a flight? It was just a 1 hour flight, but I mean, this was the second time. I believe this was the second time that I used Flying Blue, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just making that up for this to do flights. Yeah, maybe I am making that up. But anyway, Flying Blue has some really good partners, some really good airline partners. Oh no, yeah, this is the second time I mentioned Flying Blue in this video, but first time I actually used Flying Blue miles for a flight on this trip. I've used it before and it's great. So, and Flying Blue is great because I think they have all the major credit cards: Chase, American Express, Capital One, I think Citi. I don't have any Citi cards, but yeah, Xavier says I'm gonna have to start hanging out with the lobbies and making friends with the staff. Yeah, I mean maybe, like, it's so nice. It's so nice to save on Hilton points and use the friends and family rate. I mean, secretly, I hope that, I don't even know if this is really that secret, but I am hoping that my brother gets promoted at Hilton, stays there for life, and I can always have the friends and family rate. And then Xavier also saying that's a great deal for using 5,000 Flying Blue miles to fly from one country to another. That's pretty nice, in my opinion. And then in Singapore, we had a stay at another IHG stay, which I have to say I wasn't a big fan. I'm a huge fan of the IHG credit cards. I'm a huge fan of the type of value you can get from your IHG points, especially with your fourth night free. I I mean, like my first video ever on this YouTube channel was about IHG and how I was just starting to look into it and how excited I was to get my first IHG credit card. And like this, my whole YouTube channel has just like a lot of my videos are like IHG is so cool. But this stay, I was really sad about this one because with my platinum elite status, I found out 2 days earlier that I was upgraded. I was upgraded from the basic room that I booked. I and I got upgraded to what said lounge access. I logged into the app. The reason why I booked this Holiday Inn, so it's the Holiday Inn in Singapore. It's called Holiday Inn Atrium. Booked it for 83,000 IHG points. Singapore is really expensive, so I was pumped about this deal. 83,000. Nah, I wasn't pumped about it because a week before, I booked this very last minute, and a week before this, it was like 72,000 IHG points, and this one now it was 83,000. So anyway, it was a good deal. It's like half of a credit card welcome offer if you sign up for an IHG card, so and get approved. So that was pretty sweet, and I was pumped to stay there. And then when I found out that I was upgraded, I was like, whoa, all right, let's do this. We got lounge access. It says it right there in my app. I took a screenshot of it. I was really happy. I'm gonna have to make a whole separate video about this and a ton of other stuff in this live. But I was so pumped to go to this Holiday Inn and with my lounge access. And then after this flight that I took from Malaysia, I logged into the IHG app and it no longer said lounge access. And I was like, what's going on here? This is upsetting. What is this? Like, surely they're going to honor that lounge access if I show them a screenshot. So I get good to Singapore, ride to the hotel, talk to the front desk staff, and I said, hey, look, it says I have lounge access, like from the screenshot I took like earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, but it's like, here, look at my phone. And trying to be as nice as possible because I actually did. I felt like I was pretty nice in this way because even if they weren't going to honor that, I was at least going to try to be nice, and then maybe they would upgrade me anyway. And basically, it turned out that they didn't let me get lounge access for our 4-night stay, and I was really sad. I even talked to the manager for like a really long time. I'm like, but you upgraded me, and it said lounge access, so what's going on here? Basically what ended up happening was they said, well, that's just what the room is called. That's not actually giving you lounge access. The room is just called like whatever, one king bed with lounge access. And I'm like, well, you need to change that. You need to change the name of the room. It's called lounge access. I should get lounge access. But apparently they don't do any upgrades to lounge access. So you could book it and get lounge access, but if you're upgraded to the room that says lounge access, you don't get it. So I'm like, okay, that stinks. Because I was just coming from Malaysia, from the Hilton that I was in, that we had lounge access. We had all the food and drinks we want. And then coming to Singapore and everything's way more expensive than Malaysia. We have lounge access. Show up to the hotel. No, you don't. Oh, well, that was... whatever. I mean, like I did my best. I tried to we got the upgrade. It didn't happen. Whatever. Hey, whoever's spamming the celebration, keep doing it. That looks fun in the chat. We did not get the lounge access in Singapore, and also the room that they upgraded me to. It really wasn't that special. What's up, JP? Thanks for joining in. The room I booked because it was a very last minute booking. I booked it like one week before we got there, and the Holiday Inn they only had one room available. It was 2 twin beds, but I don't want to do 2 twin beds. I'm traveling with my wife, and so they upgraded us to like the lounge access room, and then turns out that wasn't actually available, and then we. What they did was they said, okay, we can upgrade you. But they upgraded us to a queen bed. Queen bed in Singapore was actually really small. We could barely fit 2 very average sized people in that one queen bed. And then And then what else was bad? Oh, the room was really humid. We were on the very top floor, which is really cool. It was the 27th floor. It was fun. It was good to be up there, but the windows didn't really close all the way, and it was like 90% humidity in Singapore. So it was 90% humidity in the room while we were trying to sleep, and it was just it was a whole thing. And yes, it was so nice to say, hey, this room was $900 for 4 nights or more. I think it was more than that actually. And we got it for 83,000 IHG points, paid $0 out of our pocket for this, just used our points that we had from our welcome offer. I mean, it's hard to complain about that. Yes, the room wasn't up to our expectations, and yes, sadly, that made me feel a little bit less about the IHG program, but I mean, oh well. Oh well. It was, we paid $0 out of our pocket for like a $900 room and 83,000 IHG points. It's fine. It's fine. We'll take it. It's all right. Hi, AJ. Thanks for joining in for this live stream where I'm just going through the trip that my wife and I just came from all around the world, and it was over a month long, really fun. We really enjoyed it, and I've now covered our flight from Phoenix to Toronto, business class over to Africa, in Ethiopia to Kenya, and then from there going over from where we did a safari in Kenya, and then from there we went used our United miles over to Seychelles, island country over in Africa, and then we went over, used Qatar Airways to go from Seychelles over to the Maldives. That was great, fun experience there. And then we flew over to Malaysia, just a couple days, and then used Flying Blue miles to get to Singapore. And then let's see, that's where we are right now. Okay, and then AJ says, I saw that you went to the Maldives. Any tips for me planning a trip with my wife next May? Well, May's a pretty good time to go because I think it's pretty affordable, the resort rates and things like that in the Maldives in May. So Maldives, any tips? Yeah, I mean, like, ask me a question. Like, what do you want to know about the Maldives? I can give you all the knowledge that I have about the Maldives. They are hard to get to from the United States. I would definitely try to plan going to at least one other country. I mean, if you have the time off work and all that, or if you're working remotely, even better. Try to plan at least one other country if you can to add on to the Maldives, because it's hard to get to. It's really far away. You might as well stop by somewhere else while you're already over there. If you are going to another country, it is going to be easier to find a flight on points and miles, but only certain countries are going to fly to the Maldives. It's way fewer airlines that fly there than I thought. And so for points and miles, the one that I stayed in, the IHG, the Holiday Inn Resort, I found it as the most affordable resort island that you can use with credit card miles and points, because you have to pay for the transfer from the airport to the resort island, because I mean, Maldives is just a bunch of islands, and there's really, I mean, you can stay on the main island if you want to, but there's no resorts, there's no chain hotels, except for some that are hard to get credit card points for. Maldives it's fun. I mean, Xavier says, is that Maldives as great as everybody makes it out to be? If that was where you went live for the first time, I remember the view was amazing. Sorry, I read that fast. So yes, the Maldives was where I went live from last time, and Maldives it's great. As far as, is it as great as everybody makes it out to be? You want to have some money if you want to enjoy the Maldives exactly how everybody says how good it is. You definitely want some money, because like I was saying, you're going to have to pay for the transfer from the airport to whatever resort island you're on. And for the Holiday Inn Resort, I found it was the cheapest transfer that I could find to a resort island for credit card points. It was $110, $115 per person, something like that. And that was like the most affordable one. If you want to go to some of these, I think there's a Conrad Maldives. There's a luxury yacht that you have to pay for, and it's like $900 a person. So you have to pay for that. Even if you pay points for your stay, you have to pay really for a really expensive luxury yacht or something like that. And then that's same with all the really high-end resorts in the Maldives. So you are, if you want to enjoy the Maldives properly, I guess you want to have some money in the bank for that. But I mean, maybe you do, and maybe you have an amazing time in the Maldives. We had an amazing time in the Maldives, but that's also because we went to a local island. I talked about that earlier in the video. If you are watching live, you can just maybe later on just go back like 30 or so minutes where I talked about that. So we really enjoyed our $50 a night hotels on the resort, on the local islands of the Maldives, and the resort islands are very expensive, very expensive. You're gonna pay a lot of money for any transfers that you have to and from the airport, any food you eat on the resort island, everything like that. And as Xavier said, that's how they get you. They get you by making you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the transfer from the airport. And well, they can do that because people will pay it. So there you go there. So going back to our whole trip report that I have here, or actually, well, AJ chimed in for the Maldives, so we'll answer that first. So I booked our return ticket on Qatar business class using credit card points. Haven't booked our tickets there yet. Want to do a stopover in Dubai. Hey, that's actually great. I mean, booking Qatar back home, as long as the availability is there, like just book it. And I think the cancellation policy on Qatar is really nice, even if you have to end up canceling your trip. But hopefully you won't have to do that. So yeah, I think Etihad, yeah. Etihad, it goes to Abu Dhabi, not Dubai. So I don't know if you would want to do that. But there's some very affordable tickets sometimes on Etihad from the Maldives to Abu Dhabi, which is almost what we did, but the prices shot up right before we booked it, like the day or two before. So that kind of stinks. JP says, I'm going to be hitting up Singapore and Malaysia on DAWs. Sorry, I can barely speak. My mouth is so dry. Ondas in Singapore, still undecided on where in Kuala Lumpur. Anything I should know about both countries? Dramatic pause for a water break. So the Ondas in Singapore, that's fantastic. I believe, JP, you're a Hyatt Globalist, so that totally makes sense for you. The Ondas, I don't think is too expensive point-wise, which I guess some people don't need to be worried about that. I kind of like spending the least amount of points possible, but I don't think that's you, so don't worry about that. So Ondas in Singapore, I think it looks really nice. Singapore's a really fun place. Singapore is where we've now been there twice. The first time we went for an entire week, and it was probably a good decision. It was just pretty expensive, and that was before I was like fully invested in miles and points, and so we paid cash for our hotel stay, and so that was really expensive because Singapore is an expensive place. But the food in Singapore, JP, you should go to what they call food centers or hawker centers. I'm not sure if you're aware of those, but basically Singapore, the restaurants I'm sure they're all great. They're just really expensive. And so what my wife and I do, we go to these like hawker centers. They're all around the country. Basically, it's where all the local people eat. And then they have a bunch of different cuisines, like Chinese food, Indian food, Malaysian food, like everything like that. And you can, most of the time they only take cash, but most of the time those hawker centers just take cash, but so you can't use your credit cards and get rewards that way, but it's like a tenth of the price as a restaurant, and the food is really good, and I'd recommend trying that out. And same thing in Malaysia, we found out that they kind of have their own like food centers. Like I just found one on the street. I got a recommendation from the Hilton I was staying in, and I was like, where can I find really good Malaysian food for as cheap as possible, and basically where all the locals eat. And then he was like, okay, you go around this corner, you turn left, you turn right, and then you just follow all of the local people wherever they're walking for their lunch break, and you go there. I'm like, okay, I'll trust you. And I just followed a bunch of Malaysian people, and they took us right to this like food center, and it was like, yeah, you can get like full meals for like $1 or $2. So definitely check that out when you're in Singapore and Malaysia. As far as hotels in Malaysia, I mean, I just stayed at a Hilton. It's called Hilton Petling Jaya. It was like it's like $100 a night if you don't have the friends and family discount like I do. And so that one was cool, but that wasn't exactly in Kuala Lumpur. There's a Hilton Garden Inn there. Obviously, I don't think you're staying in that, but for some people that do want a very budget-friendly deal, there's two Hilton Garden Inns there, I think, and they're like $40 a night. So you could do that, and if you had gold status, you get free breakfast. Sorry, not free breakfast, complimentary breakfast, and I think that would work out pretty well. So that's what I got for Malaysia and Singapore. I could talk about it for longer, but we're getting a couple other comments. AJ says, wouldn't mind flying economy from the Maldives over to the UAE. I would like to start budget and end our trip in a luxury resort for the Maldives. Want to splurge a bit towards the end of our trip and fly business class back. So you said you already had, it said you already had business class booked. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't mind flying economy from the US over to the Maldives? Hey, that's pretty bold. It's a long flight, but I think you could get it done. I mean, at this point in our credit card, like points and miles life, we might not fly. We might not, even though I am closer to a budget traveler than most people in here, I might not, I don't know if my wife would appreciate the economy there, but I mean, do it if you can from Seattle. All right, well, I mean, if you can find a good deal, do economy. Economy's so much cheaper sometimes than business, so I'm sure you're gonna be able to find something pretty good. I'm trying to think of the airlines that fly directly to the Maldives. I don't know, yeah, that one might be tough. I might have to come back on that one, but I mean, there's only like 10 different airlines that fly to the Maldives, and so I don't know. We'll see. I might have to do some research on that and get back to you. And then Xavier says that's a good idea, AJ. Xavier's just agreeing, saying I think I would rather have the luxury in the back end too. And then he also says, I have done Europe to US a couple times, economy traveling home from when I was stationed overseas. It's doable. Yeah, I mean, we all got to fly economy sometimes. Sometimes the deal's not there. Sometimes it is for business class. And if it's not there, then I don't mind flying economy at all. In fact, near the end of the live stream, I'm going to talk about how I flew economy home from Japan, even though I really did not want to, and my wife didn't want to either, but we still had to fly economy. And David Williams says, need to book the economy seats with good legroom. I'd rather that than pay for first class. Yeah, you can go on Google Flights, and you can see the legroom on each like flight, and I've been looking at that all the time, because I'm like, if I am going to be paying economy prices, I'm going to want that little, like a couple extra inches of leg room. Some like Google Flights will say below average leg room, and then average leg room, and above average. And oh wow, AJ, you're 6'5". I'm not even close to that, but I still like the extra leg room. So yeah, definitely a lot of the more established airlines, the ones that aren't budget, I've been seeing on Google Flights that they've had a lot of like above average leg room for a lot of the different airlines. So I think if you do, and those are the same airlines that you can use credit card points for. And so, I mean, that's just like, that pairs well together. If you want the extra leg room, then you got to go with the established airlines. And usually it works out to use your credit card points for that. And so yeah, I think I got all caught up on the comments. Yeah, this isn't like the most popular idea ever for a live stream, just talking about all the different redemptions I did, but I mean, this is what I love talking about. I mean, you got to earn the points, but then you also want to redeem them in the most fun way that you can. And so like this is just, I'm just talking through everything that I did. So I believe we were done talking about Singapore and what I did there. And so then it was time to move on to our next country, which we added on very last minute, which was China. We went to China for 6 nights, and somebody asked me in the last live stream to talk about this, how we actually like are doing China. I forget who it is off the top of my head, but basically what we did to go to China, we didn't get a visa. You need a visa to go to China if you're a US citizen, but we did not because there is this program that China has with like 50 some countries, US included. And so this one was, you're able to go to China for up to 6 nights. So technically you could go for 7 days, which is kind of what we did. But you can go to China, and then you go to the airport, and basically it's actually a really simple and easy process. You go to, once you arrive in China, you need to make sure that you have your flight booked out of China to a different country than one that you just came from. So we came from Singapore, we booked our flights to China, and then we had our flights booked to Japan after that. And we had to show that flight out of China like 6 days later. And then you don't need a visa to go. Go to the immigration line, say, here's my flight out of China. It's in 6 days, so I don't need a visa. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they give you a little sticker on your passport, and then you are free to explore China. And then we have JP coming in with, you did a lot of last second bookings, correct? I remember you commenting before that you were looking for a flight home. Seats do open last minute, but I would be scared to do that for 2 people. So I'll get to that. I'll answer a little bit now, just in case you have to leave or something like that. So I'll give you a real answer now, and then a full answer later on. But yes, the 2 seats did open up on the flight that we wanted, and then I went to go book it with points, and I was calling with Virgin, and they basically told me, I said, I see the availability, can I book this? And then they said, no, we can't, we don't have availability for that, sorry. And then that was for business class, and that didn't work out. So I saw the availability, it was right there, but for some reason they couldn't book it for me, and we had to fly economy home because that was the first time I ever tried to do a booking like that, and it didn't work out. So no business class for us, sadly, but I mean, that's okay. That was just one time. I mean, sometimes you have issues that come up like that, and you just gotta live with it, and we paid points for the economy flight home. Oh well, so sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, I almost went back to your community post that you had up there and like said, oh, we didn't get a flight home, but you know, whatever. It's gonna make a really good video because I have a lot to say. I mean, on this live stream, but also another video I have coming up in the next like week or 2, and I'm still sad about it, so I gotta vent by sharing that with everybody. Okay, so we used 45,000 United points, or United miles, to go from Singapore to Shanghai, China. That was 22.5K each. So a pretty good deal in my opinion. Like, China's hard to get to if you didn't know that, and because not a lot of people want to go, they don't have a ton of actually, I don't know, there were a lot of tourists, but I think they were mostly from China. So so yeah, as far as United miles, I love United miles now because I was able to book this flight from Singapore to Shanghai with United miles, which is not, I mean, I didn't really expect that. I was like, how are we supposed to get to China with miles and points? I don't know, but I was just researching it, like, we were seriously researching it in the Maldives. So this was like just barely over a week before we were gonna go to China, just researching. I'm like, hey, there's a really good deal on United. We use United miles and we can go to China from Singapore. Let's do it. And so my wife was totally on board, and so there we go. I mean, it's really, really cool. I think that was it. That was on Singapore Airlines, and Singapore Airlines, everyone talks about how it's one of the top airlines in the world. And even though I was just flying economy, it was a really good experience. And so in Shanghai, China, we stayed at a DoubleTree. It was just outside like of the main Shanghai area. Technically, it was in the city close, like the next closest city to Shanghai, but it's all Shanghai basically. So that one actually ended up only being $321 for 6 nights. It was pretty great actually. I was like, are things going to be a little bit different because it's China? Don't really know like what to expect. It just felt like a normal Hilton stay basically. And they said, cool, you got gold status, so that means you get complimentary breakfast every morning, and they gave us a room upgrade. I was like, hey, can I get a room upgrade to the executive lounge? And they said no, but that was expected because we were there for 6 nights. If you stay fewer nights, you have the more opportunity to get upgraded to things like executive lounge. I really want diamond status for the automatic executive lounges at Hilton's, especially if I'm going to be staying at more Hiltons in the near future. But I still don't have diamond status. I would need the Hilton Aspire card for that. I really want to sign up for it, but I don't want it to mess with my Chase 524 status. So I'm like, really want diamond status. Don't want to affect 524. I still have a lot of Chase cards I want to get. So I'm not getting the Aspire card, even though it would really enhance our travels. But oh well, yeah. So that was a friends and family discount for that Hilton stay. So $321 for 6 nights. That one was pretty sweet. The points price for that, it really wasn't that bad. Probably like 40,000 points per night for a DoubleTree. Something like China's very affordable. I want to go back to China just because there's so many good points and miles deals there. There's so many really good Category 1 Hyatts. Like it's crazy in Shanghai and Beijing. Like it's great, but we ended up paying $321 for 6 nights because that was barely more than $50 a night for that. Let's see. Cesar says, by the way, congratulations on reaching 2K subscribers on this channel. Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like, I mean, just looking at the other channel I have with my wife, I mean, that's at like 28,000 subscribers, I think, at this point. It's like, I feel like I'm not really growing that much on this channel, but, you know, it's totally fine because, you know, it's really cool to have a good community here that is going to watch these videos and going to learn about points and miles together. Hopefully you guys can learn from my videos, and I can also learn from your comments and just other creators' videos too. It's really fun to be in this space. And then he also says, planning a family trip to Japan next year. Might have to sit in the back with Adam's kid, family of 4. Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something out there. Actually, I've flown to Japan. Is this like 2 or 3 times now? I think I've flown economy every time. So I don't know. Even with 2 people, it's but I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh well, you could fly to Korea. I flew to Korea in business class, and that was a good experience. And then if you want to do that, maybe you don't even want to stay in Korea. Maybe you just want to have a layover and then go to Japan from there. But probably not if you have a family of 4. That might be a little bit of a hassle to go to Korea, unless you want to hang out in Korea. Because yeah, man, it's an interesting and fun place. There's a lot of tips you might need for Korea because it's a different place for sure than a lot of places. Japan's pretty easy, but Korea's a little bit different, and not necessarily in a bad way, but you know, it was different than what I was expecting, basically. Let's see. Zara says, you and Jenny going to the meetup in New Orleans. Well, actually, we were not planning at all to go. I guess maybe I should talk to her about this. We were planning to be in Canada while this was happening, either Canada and I think flying to Europe, but because that's Labor Day, right? So like I think it's Labor Day, the first weekend in September. So we were going to be somewhere in either Canada or Europe. We were already just going to be out of the U.S., but our Canada plans fell through, and we can't do that anymore. So we were thinking maybe we were just going to go to Europe a little bit later, so then maybe we can actually go to New Orleans. That might be something that I'll have to consider that because I totally put it out of my mind that I wasn't going at all, but maybe I will. And then let's see. Cesar says, yeah, the kids they can sit in the back. That's what I think. I mean, I don't have kids yet. I mean, I'm sure I will at some point, but I'm like, okay, well, why can't the kids sit in the back? They're fine, but I don't know how if I can actually make that happen, but or I will maybe I'll feel too bad for them, but I don't know. I feel like that's fine. I feel like that's fine. Yeah, make them sit in the back. There we go. That's my final answer on that. You guys sit up front. You guys are paying for it, and then the kids they're fine. They're fine as long as they don't. Yeah, that's great. Okay, moving on to Shanghai. I talked about that. How we were in China. China's very affordable, like I said. The metro there is really cheap, but the taxis there are also extremely affordable. The taxis there are crazy. You need to know a lot of information to go to China, but and how everything works because they don't have Google or anything like that there, and there's a whole lot of stuff. But China's really cool. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that being in the U.S. right now, but I mean, traveling in China is cool. There we go. I can say that. And just very affordable if you know how to do everything properly. And from there, we had our flight also on United Miles. This was like 17,000 miles each to get from Shanghai, China to Japan. This was going into the Narita Tokyo airport. And I had to book this flight before we actually were in China, so we had to have a plan for more than a week actually scheduled out, which was kind of interesting for us. I mean, we were planning things so last minute and finding all these different flights and hotel deals, and we were canceling and rebooking. It was all crazy the whole trip, but it was tiring and a lot of fun. But this one we had to book at least a week and a half out. And so we had this flight booked on Junyao Airlines. It's a Shanghai airline that I guess shows up on United.com as an option to use your United Miles for. They're not even technically a full Star Alliance partner. They're like a Star Alliance connecting partner. I believe that's what they call them. And so even though they're not technically a full Star Alliance partner, you can still use your United Miles to book that flight. So that's another reason why I really want to earn more United Miles. And we went to Japan because I thought we were just going to hang out in Japan and wait for ANA the room to open up. We were like, okay, well, we have our flight to Japan. We'll just keep looking for the room. We'll just keep looking. And even if we have to stay in Japan up to like 4 days, we're fine with that. We just book a last minute hotel and do that. And so we were going to book the room whenever it opened up because we know that it opens up incredibly last minute, and then there's just some seats that you can go to the room. I've been scouting this out for months and months, just like, okay, all right, the room is opening up like 3 days out or 2 days out from the flight. So eventually when we get to Japan, we'll just fly the room all the way back to the US and it's going to be great. But it ended up being not a good experience. But let me just look at these comments really quick right before I jump into that story. So Xavier says, yeah, no way I would pay for 5 first or business class tickets. Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't think I could do it. Like I've been saying this whole live, I'm kind of like a budget / value traveler. 5 business class tickets, that seems, yeah, I don't know if I could ever do that, even if I had the credit card points. I mean, maybe if I had like one kid, maybe I would let them sit up front, but I don't know. Hey, if there's 3 kids, I mean, there's 3 seats in a row, they could just all sit there. They're fine. They're fine in economy. That's fine. Kids equal mortgages. Take your time, Jacob. Oh man. Hey, we'll see what happens. Who knows what's going on? I feel like I'm still pretty young. We'll figure out the kids thing at some point. Okay, and then to come home. Yeah, so we had the room. in our minds, we were gonna fly the room, like guaranteed. But we became really exhausted at this point in our trip, and we were like, oh, I kind of just don't want to go to Japan, even though Japan's amazing. We've been there. We were there in Japan for so long, and we loved it. We loved pretty much every minute of it, and we were just like, we're so tired. We've been gone from the U.S. for over a month. This was at least 5 weeks. No, this was like pretty much 6 weeks at this point, and we were like, okay, we're gonna try to find a flight out of Japan the same day. I don't think we're going to leave the airport, but we did find ANA the room availability for that day, but we didn't fly it. We did not fly ANA the room home because of issues that I am going to list out in a whole other video. But basically, it turns out that all the blogs that I read and stuff like that, the YouTube videos, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because they're totally not. They're totally correct. But it would have been nice for me to actually go through this process and test it out myself to find out how difficult it actually is to find ANA the room availability in business class to fly home, because it turns out that if you find the availability, basically what you do is you go on United.com and you find the availability on All Nippon Airways, and you go to Google Flights, you make sure that it is the individual suite, the room. I did that. I'm like, okay, we're gonna fly ANA the room. I found it on Google Flights. I found the exact route I wanted, going from Tokyo to San Francisco, and I also had a backup option of going from Tokyo to Chicago. There's the room availabilities. Let's make this happen. I found the availability on United.com. Could use points for that, but it's significantly more affordable if you go through and call up Virgin Atlantic and book it through them. The taxes and fees are a little bit higher, but the points price is like in half of what you could book it for on United. So I went through, found my first choice and my backup route, and I was like, I'm ready to go. So I called Virgin Atlantic, and I'm like, hey, I found this flight availability. Can I book 2 tickets, please? And they researched it, came back, and it was unavailable for both routes. And so that was pretty devastating, because I was like, wow, I really wish I would have done a little bit more research, maybe called ahead just to do some sort of dummy booking so that I actually had it all figured out, because it said there was availability and I did everything right that all the blogs and the videos told me to do, but I just didn't do enough research. I didn't do the very last step of finding out how difficult this might be to actually make this booking happen. And so it turns out that we did not fly ANA the room home. And yeah, sure. I mean, like that's full blame on myself. I can't blame the blogs or the videos I saw, because you have to take that extra step and actually go through all the steps to make sure that you can book it yourself. But it didn't happen, and I didn't get the ANA the room, one of the best business class seats in the world. And then we flew economy home all the way from Japan, from a 10-hour flight or 10.5-hour flight from Tokyo to Denver. Got to go to the Capital One Lounge and for a couple hours, and then we're home. And we booked that flight on United Miles. So a lot of United Miles going on in this trip, because that's just that's the currency that I think is, in my opinion, in my situation, is the best for airlines. But I mean, that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean it's the same for you. Maybe you don't fly all these like weird like economy routes like all across the world, and so maybe United Miles aren't as valuable to you, but they are to me. And so that's why I'm trying to get some more, because I used all of my United Miles on this trip around the world, and I have 93 United Miles right now in my account, but I do have some Chase points I could transfer over if I needed to. JP Knowledge says the room can be tough to get these days. You probably could have found it to Hawaii, but that probably wouldn't have been ideal. Yeah, I could have. I didn't even look at that because I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to Hawaii, even for a layover, but I kind of just wanted to knock it out all in one long flight. So maybe it would have been there, maybe it wouldn't have. But either way, I was like, it's fine. I'm sure that would have been okay, but I didn't do it. We just did economy all the way home, and it was pretty sad because it was a long flight. But oh well, made a little bit of a mistake. Weren't that happy with it, but it worked out well, and it's fine. So that was my whole month-long trip, going all around the world and all this craziness, using points and miles for a lot of the airlines, using points for hotels as much as possible, unless there was a really good dollars like cash deal there. And I think I think we technically circumnavigated the globe. Maybe, I don't know. I won't get into too much of the specifics, but you need certain criteria for circumnavigating the globe, and I don't think we technically did it, but we basically did it. JP says, was it United Economy or ANA Economy? And it was United Economy. It was United both ways, for both flights, from Tokyo to Denver and then Denver to Phoenix. So yeah, United Economy. It wasn't ANA. I really love flying the international airlines that aren't based in the U.S. because, like, why not? We're leaving out of the U.S. and coming home to the U.S. And so whenever I get the opportunity, I always want to test out new airlines, or when I don't get the new airlines, I want to do the international airlines because I'm not going to be able to fly them as much. But yeah, it was just United because that's what was available. I booked that flight. Oh, I didn't even tell you the best part, or I guess the worst part. I don't know what it is. On United, we booked that flight. We were sitting in our hotel room in China, in Shanghai, and it was 10 hours before, not 10 hours before our flight to Tokyo, 10 hours before our flight to Denver. And I booked that flight with the United Miles. And so our flight going to Japan was leaving in like 4 hours, and I still hadn't fallen asleep yet because our flight was like so early in the morning, and I was still trying to figure out how to get business class home, and it was like 4 hours before our flight to Japan, and I was like, all right, it's 10 hours. This flight's in 10 hours from Japan to Denver. I should probably book this because I could actually see every time I refresh the page, some award availability would just vanish. So I actually could have booked a business class flight, but I was like, oh, do we actually want to do that? I don't know if that route's perfect, and it would have been just barely more expensive than our economy flight. But I was like, I don't know if it's perfect. Maybe I'll try to look for something else. Came back like 5 minutes later, and it went from 4 seats available to 1 seat available. And I'm like, well, I can't book that because I got my wife, so not gonna work out. So yeah, JP, ANA would have been much better than United. United, the food, honestly, like, I didn't really care about the food that much. I mean, we got food in Japan. I don't know. I don't want to write that off because I mean ANA I'm sure would have been much better. I'm sure it would have been way better than United because why not? ANA is one of the best airlines in the world. At least that's what I've heard. But I was like, I had already eaten on our flight from Shanghai to Tokyo that day, eaten in the lounge in Tokyo. And then on the flight to Denver, I was like, I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. Even though I'm in the middle seat, even though I'm in the middle seat, I don't know. The food was okay. It wasn't that good, but it was fine. And then I ate in the Capital One lounge. So, oh well. JP Xavier said Jenny would have understood. What if I took that business class seat? There was 1 seat available in that business class. Yeah, I think Jenny would have been fine if I took it, and then she sat in economy back there for 10 hours. That would have been fine, right? She's in the other room right now. If she's still watching this, she's probably like, what is he talking about? And JP says, the good thing about United Miles is the free cancellation. Book what you see, then rebook when you see a better option. Yes, this is what I love about just having a ton of United Miles in my account. And that's one of the reasons why we flew with United Miles so much. It's because the free cancellation. We were going to cancel our flight to Japan from Shanghai, like 3 hours before the flight took off, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna get all our United miles back and our taxes and fees back. So, but that's why we fly with United Miles so much, at least on this trip, is because of the free cancellation. Oh, that's a good deal. All right, just book it and then keep looking for better like business class or whatnot. But then, I mean, it's always not always, but sometimes, especially with these international airlines, that United Miles, like that's such a good good price, so it's hard to pass up. Xavier said might have gotten the cold shoulder later that night though, and JP said no, she wouldn't have understood if you did business class, and she didn't. No, I'm just kidding. I would never fly business class and have my wife sit in economy. Never ever. If anything, she's getting business class and I'm getting economy. Actually, yeah, because I mean I don't mind economy at all. Actually, I just love flying business class for the experience and to be like, oh, I got a really good deal. But no, like she's all about business class. I was when I first started getting into points and miles, I'm like, okay, we got business class this one time. This is really special because I mean, like it was only like 50,000 points for business class. I'm like, okay, we can't do this like 50,000 points, yeah, for one seat. I was like, oh, it was two, but no, it was one. It was like, oh, this is the one-time special opportunity to fly business class because I was just getting into points and miles, and then we flew it, and I'm like, well, actually, we can get way more credit card points now with a ton of welcome offers. So this is definitely not a one-time thing to be sitting in business. So that's all I had for today's video. I mean, like, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. I really appreciate all the chats coming in, and we got Xavier with the super chat earlier on today. So I just really appreciate all of you for taking time out of your night to come on and be here in this live. This was so cool to just be able to share my whole experience flying all around the world. And real quick, JP says, Xavier with the super chat, $2 super chat. I really appreciate that. And then JP says total miles used. I knew I should have calculated this all out. I was just like, I don't know how to do it because of all the like the different hotel points and the miles. I don't have that. I'm just looking really quickly. I'm gonna estimate as far as miles go, probably around like 40,000, 400,000, like Chase and Amex points used for that. Just for all the flights for over a month, and then hotel points, probably somewhere around like 200,000, 300,000 for that, but maybe a little bit less than that because I did use cash for some of the hotel stays. So this was a really fun live. I appreciate everybody that left chats, and especially the super chats from Xavier. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to be making a ton of videos about all the different experiences that I got to have on this trip in all the countries. So with that said, once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next live or the next video. See you guys.